There are about 40 different car brands in the United States.
Right now, the heart of car culture is breaking. 5 brands that once defined passion and power are about to vanish from American roads.
A tsunami of supersized American-style pickup trucks are hitting Melbourne roads.
They gave us the cars we dreamed about, tuned, and loved. But today, their factories sit quiet. Their ads forgotten. Their loyal fans left wondering where it all went wrong. While you're reading this, dealerships are locking doors that may never reopen. How did these icons fall so far, so fast? Who's really to blame? Bad leadership or changing drivers? And what does their disappearance mean for the future of driving itself? Number 5. Mitsubishi. There was a time when seeing the 3 red diamonds on the back of a car meant something special. It stood for energy, adventure, and precision. Once upon a not-so-distant era, Mitsubishi was not just a manufacturer. It was a movement. From the thunderous roar of rally-bred engines to the sleek coupes that ruled suburban streets, Mitsubishi carried an attitude that said speed and reliability could coexist. Yet somewhere along the winding road of progress, that message was lost, and the brand that once burned so brightly has been reduced to a faint spark, struggling to stay alive in the American market. Back in the early 2000 era, every young car lover could name a Mitsubishi they adored. The Lancer Evolution, affectionately called the Evo, became the dream machine for an entire generation. Its all-wheel drive system and turbocharged engine delivered a thrill that rivaled vehicles costing twice as much. The Eclipse, with its curved body and youthful energy, turned heads in high school parking lots and movie scenes alike. Mitsubishi was never just transportation, it was aspiration. It gave ordinary people access to something that felt extraordinary, a bridge between affordable and exhilarating. However, by the time the calendar rolled into 2010, the tide had shifted. Consumer tastes leaned toward larger vehicles, and competitors like Toyota, Honda, and Hyundai adapted swiftly. Mitsubishi hesitated, uncertain of its identity. It lacked the deep pockets to reinvent itself in a market moving faster than ever. While others flooded dealerships with crossovers and hybrids, Mitsubishi's lineup remained thin, its advertising quiet, and its innovation lagging. The same daring company that once built the Zero fighter plane in the 1940s and later poured that spirit into motorsports suddenly seemed timid. Its salvation came briefly in the shape of the Outlander, a compact sport utility vehicle that arrived with genuine promise. The plug-in hybrid version even impressed critics, offering practical efficiency at a fair price. Yet one successful product cannot carry the weight of an entire brand. American buyers are spoiled for choice, and Mitsubishi's showrooms began to look lonely. Vehicles that once had a heartbeat of excitement now stood still under fluorescent lights, gathering dust instead of stories. Mitsubishi's weakening dealership network has become a critical problem, with few outlets and long waits for parts undermining its 10-year warranty promise. Financial struggles and a confusing partnership with the Nissan-Renault alliance have blurred its identity instead of reviving it, leaving buyers doubtful of its future. Though Mitsubishi still builds reliable, efficient vehicles, competence alone cannot sustain a brand in today's fierce market. Its nostalgic advertising lacks innovation, yet faint hope remains in electrification. If leadership can merge its engineering legacy with modern design, Mitsubishi might rise again, but hesitation could seal its fate as another forgotten automotive name. In the grand story of the automobile, Mitsubishi's journey serves as a reminder that innovation, without evolution, is a short-lived triumph. The brand's fall is not sudden, but slow, a quiet unraveling of what was once a proud tapestry. For loyal fans who grew up tuning their Eclipses and dreaming of Evos, the idea of a world without Mitsubishi feels personal. It is not just the loss of a name, but the fading of a feeling. The belief that performance could be accessible, and joy could be affordable. And as the sun sets on the once glorious red diamonds, the American road seems just a little less colorful. The next stop on our list continues the theme of faded promise, but this time it involves a brand that once wore luxury like armor, a company that dared to compete with Europe's finest and now finds itself struggling to stay relevant in its own backyard. Number 4. Infiniti. Once, the name Infiniti carried a whisper of mystery and elegance, The kind of name that rolled off the tongue like a promise of something smoother, faster, and finer. It was not just another car brand, it was a symbol of ambition. When Nissan introduced Infiniti in the late 1980s, the company envisioned it as the Japanese answer to Europe's sophisticated luxury titans, a direct rival to Mercedes-Benz, BMW, and the newly launched Lexus. In those early days, Infiniti captured attention with a unique identity, combining Japanese craftsmanship with understated prestige. The advertisements were poetic, often showing calm landscapes instead of the cars themselves, a bold choice that said luxury was not just about metal and leather, it was a feeling. During the 1990s, Infiniti hit its stride. The Q45 sedan, with its V8 engine, stood shoulder to shoulder with the best of Germany. Soon after came the G35, a car that enthusiasts still remember fondly. It was powerful, agile, and surprisingly affordable for what it offered. The G35 sedan and coupe were the heartbeat of Infiniti's golden years, capturing drivers who wanted BMW performance without European maintenance costs. For a time, it seemed like Infiniti had found its rhythm, blending performance and practicality in a way few brands could replicate. But as the 2010s dawned, the magic began to fade. Corporate decisions within Nissan began steering Infiniti in strange directions. The brand's identity started to blur, lost somewhere between sporty luxury and affordable premium. It changed model names, moving from simple, memorable badges like G and M to confusing letter number combinations, Q50, QX70, QX80, that left even loyal fans scratching their heads. Consumers who once felt connected to the brand's personality now felt alienated by its lack of clarity. Infiniti's lineup began shrinking, while competitors evolved rapidly. Lexus refined its hybrid systems, Acura reinvented its design language, and Genesis, a newcomer from Hyundai, began stealing luxury buyers with daring designs and technology-packed cabins. Infiniti, meanwhile, seemed stuck in slow motion. By the mid-2020s, the brand had dwindled to only a handful of models. The QX60, a mid-size crossover, and the QX80, a full-size sport utility vehicle, now carry nearly the entire American lineup. But both come with challenges. The QX60 replaced its reliable V6 engine with a turbocharged 2.0-liter variable compression motor that promised better efficiency. On paper, it sounded modern. In practice, it proved temperamental. Reports of bearing wear, oil consumption, and powertrain hesitation have clouded its reputation. Owners accustomed to the dependable old V6 found themselves visiting dealerships more often than expected. The QX80, on the other hand, is powerful but overpriced, a massive vehicle that feels dated inside despite its six-figure price tag. When luxury customers spend that kind of money, they expect an experience on par with Mercedes or Range Rover, not recycled switchgear and clunky infotainment screens. Nissan's financial struggles have left Infiniti starved of support, with shrinking budgets, silent advertising, and vanishing dealerships. Once a bold luxury contender, Infiniti now feels emotionless. Its cars competent yet uninspired, overshadowed by high-tech electric rivals. Still, loyal fans of the G35 and FX50 remember when the brand embodied passion and performance. Their devotion proves Infiniti's legacy isn't dead, only dormant. To survive, it must rediscover that spark through bold innovation, competitive technology, and inspired design. The coming electrified era offers one final chance for revival. But if Infiniti hesitates any longer, its elegant name may quietly disappear forever. As the years inch closer to 2030, Infiniti stands at a crossroads. One path leads toward reinvention, a daring leap into relevance. The other leads to quiet disappearance, joining the ghosts of Saturn, Saab, and Pontiac in the automotive afterlife. If the company cannot find the courage to evolve, its showrooms could soon become relics of a forgotten dream. Polished floors reflecting empty lights, a luxury name with no luxury future. And while Infiniti fades from memory, our next entry carries the story of a once proud American icon, now struggling to remember what made it great. A company that shaped highways, defined families, and built legends. Yet today, fights to prove it still belongs in the conversation. If you've made it this far, you clearly care about where the auto industry's heading. So take a second to like this video. It helps more than you think. And drop a comment below. Tell me which car brand you believe won't survive the next decade. Number 3. Chrysler. There are names in the American automotive story that feel almost sacred. Words that echo through time like proud monuments to invention and endurance. Chrysler is one of those names. It was born from the hands of Walter P. Chrysler in 1925, and for nearly a century it represented something undeniably American. The two dream bigger, build stronger, and recover after every setback. The Chrysler brand helped define an era when cars were more than machines. They were symbols of progress and freedom. Yet standing in the modern era, the once mighty Chrysler Motor Company feels more like a ghost of its former self, quietly lingering in a market that seems to have moved on without it. In its glory years, Chrysler was an industry titan. During the 1950s, it was part of Detroit's famed Big Three, alongside Ford and General Motors, shaping the automotive landscape of post-war America. Chrysler's engineering achievements were revolutionary. Its Hemi engines became legendary for their raw power, and its vehicles embodied innovation, from push-button transmissions to advanced suspension systems. Even its marketing campaigns carried an air of sophistication. The Chrysler Imperial, for instance, was seen as a genuine rival to Cadillac and Lincoln. The name carried dignity. The badge represented craftsmanship and confidence. Families proudly parked Chryslers in their driveways as a statement of success. But like so many American legends, time brought turbulence. By the late 1970s, Chrysler began to crumble under the weight of poor management, rising oil prices, and inefficient production. The company's salvation came in the form of an unlikely hero, Lee Iacocca. His leadership and the introduction of the minivan in 1983 saved Chrysler from bankruptcy. The Dodge Caravan and the Plymouth Voyager, both under the Chrysler umbrella, changed family transportation forever. For years, those boxy vans were the unsung heroes of suburban America, ferrying kids to soccer practice and families on cross-country vacations. It was innovation through practicality, and Chrysler once again had found its rhythm. The 1990s brought another surge of optimism. The Chrysler Sebring and the Chrysler Concorde embodied a blend of American design with international flair. The brand experimented boldly with curves and chrome, creating cars that looked unlike anything else on the road. Then came the early 2000 era, and with it, one of Chrysler's most recognizable creations, the 300. It arrived in 2004 like a muscle-bound time traveler, blending retro swagger with modern muscle. The sight of that long hood and imposing grille made it an instant classic. The Chrysler 300 became the car of choice for rappers, executives, and retirees alike. It was cool without trying too hard, a symbol of attainable luxury with blue-collar roots. Yet, despite these occasional revivals, the 21st century proved unkind to Chrysler. The financial crisis of 2008 struck like a thunderclap. In 2009, Chrysler declared bankruptcy, and for a time, its future looked bleak. The company was rescued by Fiat, later forming the massive Stellantis group. But what was meant to be a rebirth became a long, slow fade. Under Stellantis, Chrysler's product lineup has dwindled to a shadow of its former self. As of today, the brand offers essentially one model, the Chrysler Pacifica. Once a pioneer in the minivan market, the Pacifica remains a competent vehicle, offering hybrid options and family-friendly features. But even the best minivan cannot carry an entire brand alone. Chrysler's problem is not poor quality, but irrelevance. Once iconic, it now builds too few models to matter, overshadowed by Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. The Pacifica minivan shows flashes of the old spirit, yet one vehicle cannot sustain a legacy. Promises of an electric revival by 2026 sound hopeful but uncertain. In a market where Tesla symbolizes innovation and Toyota reliability, Chrysler's message feels lost. Still, in Detroit, designers dream of resurrecting the 300 as an electric luxury sedan. Chrysler has survived before, but this time, mere survival will not suffice. Reinvention alone can restore its forgotten prestige. As the road ahead narrows, Chrysler stands as both a lesson and a warning, a reminder that heritage cannot replace innovation, and nostalgia cannot power the engines of tomorrow. The silver wings that once symbolized progress now flutter uncertainly in a storm of corporate mergers and market shifts. Whether they will soar again or fold quietly into history is a question only time can answer. And as we turn our gaze to the next name on this list, the story shifts from American resilience to European elegance, a brand that once ruled with charm and sophistication, but now fights to prove that beauty alone can survive in a world obsessed with change. Number 2. Jaguar. Few names in the automotive world evoke emotion quite like Jaguar. Say it aloud, and you can almost hear the growl of an inline-six engine echoing through a winding English countryside. The name itself once meant elegance, speed, and unmistakable style. Jaguar was not just a car company. It was a declaration of taste, a symbol of refinement for those who saw motoring as an art form rather than a means of travel. From its birth in 1935 under the Swallow Sidecar Company to its golden age of sports cars and luxury sedans, Jaguar represented the soul of British motoring at its finest. Yet, as the years rolled forward, the company that once embodied sophistication and performance found itself trapped between the past and the future, unable to choose a clear direction. To understand Jaguar's slow descent, one must first remember its era of brilliance. In the 1950s and 60s, Jaguar was the crown jewel of automotive craftsmanship. The E-Type, launched in 1961, remains one of the most beautiful cars ever built. Even Enzo Ferrari himself once called it the most beautiful car in the world. With its long hood, curving body, and a sense of motion even at rest, the E-Type was not just transportation, it was sculpture on wheels. It defined a generation of motoring passion, winning hearts across Europe and America alike. Jaguar sedans like the Mark II and later the XJ series became the vehicle of choice for those who wanted comfort with character. In those years, the Leaping Cat was untouchable, but the glory days were followed by years of turbulence. The 70s and 80s brought economic instability, labor strikes, and quality control issues that eroded Jaguar's reputation. The brand's signature charm could no longer mask the mechanical gremlins that plagued its models. Owners loved their Jaguars but hated their reliability, and jokes about frequent breakdowns became part of the culture. Still, loyalists stayed, believing that every Jaguar, even with its flaws, had more personality than any flawless German rival. Then came 1989, when Ford Motor Company acquired Jaguar, promising to restore it to global prominence. For a time, that seemed possible. The late 90s brought a new generation of cars, the S-Type and the X-Type, designed to modernize the lineup. However, instead of sparking revival, those models diluted the brand. The S-Type looked awkward compared to its sleek predecessors, while the X-Type, based on a Ford platform, was seen as a budget Jaguar, something that never sat well with luxury buyers. Instead of enhancing Jaguar's mystique, Ford's stewardship blurred its identity. By the time Tata Motors, an Indian industrial giant, purchased Jaguar and Land Rover in 2008, the brand was in desperate need of reinvention. To Tata's credit, significant investment followed. The F-Type, unveiled in 2013, rekindled the spirit of the original E-Type. It was fast, beautiful, and emotionally charged, a true sports car in every sense. The F-Pace sport utility vehicle that followed was equally promising, offering British flair in a market dominated by German crossovers. For a moment, it seemed that Jaguar had found its roar again. However, the momentum was short-lived. As global demand shifted toward electrification, Jaguar struggled to keep up. The I-Pace, launched in 2018, was early to the electric game and initially praised for its innovation. Yet, limited range, high pricing, and production bottlenecks soon dampened excitement. Meanwhile, competitors like Tesla, Audi, and BMW flooded the market with faster, smarter, and more connected vehicles. Jaguar's once daring technology suddenly felt outdated. The company found itself caught between luxury nostalgia and futuristic ambition, excelling at neither. As sales plunged in the early 2020s, Jaguar dealerships in the United States grew silent, with only a few vehicles left. By 2026, its lineup had dwindled to the F-Pace, while sedans like the XE and XF vanished. Jaguar's bold promise to go fully electric sounded visionary, but faced fierce competition from Porsche, Mercedes-Benz, and Tesla. The challenge is immense, reinventing technology while preserving emotion. Can a silent Jaguar still inspire passion? Hope remains that timeless design and craftsmanship might revive the brand, but failure could relegate Jaguar to history's long list of fallen automotive icons. Jaguar's story is not just about cars. It is about the struggle between art and adaptation. It shows how even the most graceful brands can stumble when they forget that luxury must evolve as quickly as desire itself. And as the Leaping Cat teeters on the edge of extinction, our next brand turns toward a newcomer, a company that arrived with bold promises of electric revolution, but now faces the harsh reality of a market that refuses to be fooled twice. If this breakdown has opened your eyes, make sure you hit subscribe before you go. The next videos dive even deeper into the hidden shifts shaping the cars we drive, and the ones vanishing quietly. Stay ahead. Stay informed and never get caught off guard when the next brand disappears. Number 1. VinFast. Every so often, a company bursts onto the scene with promises so grand they sound almost cinematic. A bold challenger claiming it will rewrite the future of driving. VinFast, the ambitious electric automaker from Vietnam, entered the American market with precisely that energy. When it arrived, it carried the weight of national pride, billionaire backing, and an almost electric sense of destiny. Its goal was not modest: to rival Tesla, outshine Toyota, and prove that Vietnam could produce a global automotive powerhouse. Yet today, that bright dream flickers unsteadily as VinFast faces the cold, unforgiving reality of one of the toughest car markets in the world. Founded in 2017 by Vingroup, one of Vietnam's largest conglomerates, VinFast emerged with breathtaking speed. Within just 2 years, by 2019, it was producing gasoline vehicles for its domestic market. The company's rise was meteoric, powered by deep pockets and national ambition. It constructed a massive state-of-the-art factory in Haiphong, built at a pace that left analysts stunned. While traditional automakers take half a decade to establish new plants, VinFast did it in roughly 2. That audacity became its signature. A declaration that anything the global giants could do, Vietnam could do faster. The real spotlight came in 2021 when VinFast announced its entry into the United States. The company unveiled 2 electric sport utility vehicles, the VF8 and VF9, both sleek, futuristic, and positioned as rivals to Tesla's Model Y and Model X. The branding was clean, the design was modern, and the marketing campaign was relentless. At first glance, it seemed that VinFast had done the impossible, creating a credible electric vehicle company in record time. American dealerships took notice, and investors buzzed with optimism. But beneath the polished surface, the cracks were already forming. When journalists finally got behind the wheel of the VF8 in early 2023, the reviews were brutal. Major automotive publications described the car as unfinished, glitchy, and alarmingly overpriced. Acceleration felt sluggish, the handling was awkward, and the software was riddled with bugs. Critics compared it to a beta product rather than a production-ready vehicle. Some called it a work in progress, while others were less diplomatic, labeling it one of the worst new electric vehicles on sale. VinFast tried to respond quickly. Software updates rolled out, build quality was improved, and executives promised fixes. But in the age of social media, reputations form in hours and linger for years. Consumers, already cautious about buying from a new brand, became wary. Even with generous lease deals and 0% financing offers, buyers stayed away. Dealerships struggled to move inventory, and early adopters complained of issues ranging from faulty sensors to inconsistent charging. The company's decision to lease batteries separately from the vehicle, an unusual approach designed to lower upfront prices, confused potential customers. People were reluctant to commit to a system that felt more like a subscription than ownership. Meanwhile, the competition was fierce. Tesla continued to slash prices. Hyundai and Kia released critically acclaimed electric vehicles, and Ford's F-150 Lightning captured American hearts. In that crowded landscape, VinFast's offerings felt outclassed before they even arrived. Then came the corporate storm. VinFast's stock, briefly inflated after its listing on the Nasdaq exchange in 2023, crashed spectacularly within weeks. At one point, its paper valuation rivaled Ford and General Motors combined. But by the end of that same month, billions had evaporated. Analysts called it a cautionary tale of hype over substance. The company's founder, Pham Nhat Vuong, remained publicly optimistic, pledging more investment and announcing plans for a North Carolina factory slated for completion by 2025. But optimism alone cannot repair a brand's credibility. Financial experts now question whether VinFast can sustain its rapid expansion, as building cars is costly, but building trust is harder. Its strategy of speed clashes with America's demand for precision, where one misstep can doom a brand. The VF9's $90,000 price pits it against refined titans like Audi and Mercedes-Benz, making its luxury feel hollow. Despite sincere ambition and strong work ethic, recalls and glitches erode confidence. Yet hope lingers. If VinFast refines software, stabilizes production, and cuts costs quickly, redemption remains possible. But with new electric rivals emerging rapidly, its survival window is narrowing to a final chance. VinFast's journey serves as both an inspiration and a warning. It proves that boldness alone cannot replace experience, and that speed without substance often leads to collapse. For Vietnam, the company remains a symbol of national progress. But in America, it stands as a reminder that trust, once lost, is nearly impossible to regain. As the lights dim on this countdown, one truth becomes clear. In the automotive world, promises ignite curiosity, but only performance earns loyalty. VinFast dreamed of electrifying America's future, but unless it can deliver cars that truly connect with drivers, that dream may fade into silence. Another bright spark extinguished on the long road of innovation. The road's changing fast, and some names won't make the turn. Hit subscribe, like, and tell me which brand you think is next to vanish. Stay sharp, stay driven.